As buildings get more complex, become taller, it's important to have eyes on the site with people actually inspecting what the builders are doing. Builders try and make a profit, and sometimes they'll do that by cutting corners if nobody stops them.
In any industry, in any profession, there are the poor performers, and I would be kidding myself and kidding the public to suggest that it hasn't occurred in the building surveying profession.
Wayne Liddy is a private certifier, also known as a building surveyor. He's proud of the work that he does. He spends a lot of time on building sites.
Part of the role is paperwork. There's the assessment of the project against the National Construction Code, and then there's the on-site inspection requirements.
Once run by local councils, the building certification sector was privatised more than 20 years ago. Certifiers are often in the firing line when defects are found.
I think it's been quite convenient for many to lay blame on the building surveyor. I think it's accountability across the supply chain, from governments all the way through to the builder and the building surveyor.
Owners are supposed to appoint their certifiers, but that's not always the way it works.
What realistically happens is when the builder's appointed, the owner doesn't know their rights and obligations. They just say, we've got a building certifier that's going to work with us, and the owner just follows that lead.
We've been let down by our building surveyor, we've been let down by our builder, and we've been let down by successive governments now.
It was our lounge room. As you can see, all this has been taken out, the balcony's collapsed.
Brian and Tara Staples' first child is due within days, but their apartment in Melbourne's south looks like a building site.
It's a bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
To think that we might have to bring her home to this.
So the area's right up the top there. Everything needs to be replaced, really.
100%.
Everything, every downpipe.
This three-storey complex has a laundry list of problems, from waterproofing issues to combustible cladding.
It's the building regulator. It just doesn't have enough teeth and can't go after these people like they should.
Facing millions of dollars in repairs, owners are suing the builder to try to recover costs arising from the development 6 years ago. Both the builder, Emad Farag, and Kamran Basiri, who privately certified the building, have had their licences suspended. Both men deny they're responsible for the defects. Mr Basiri told 7:30 a building compliance issue is not indication of a building surveyor's failure.
I think this has probably been the worst 10 months of my life, putting up with this.
It's an astonishing failure of regulation over an extended period of time. It's almost incomprehensible. But government has had an agenda to reduce regulation at a point where buildings have become more complex and probably require a higher standard of regulation.
Then you get water ingress that comes into the side of the building, and they're in various spots, but you can see the damage that's been caused. This will then lead to a sinking, spongy floor.
Sahil Basan is a building defects consultant based in Melbourne. He's never been busier.
Well, we've got a magnitude of failures here. You can see rusting columns behind you, you can see balconies, you can see mould under that soffit there that's leaking. You can also see combustible cladding, and we see this day in, day out. We do thousands of reports a year on these same issues.
He says the current system doesn't require enough checks on site.
The Domestic Building Contracts Act puts all the onus on the builder. However, the reality is that the builder themselves are in the office controlling jobs, controlling emails, answering queries, doing quotes for their next jobs, signing contracts. They're not out on the field. You can see potholes, you can see the trees are sinking, and that's due to failed membranes and structures below. Building certifier, as I see it, although they've got a lot of technical knowledge, however, they're not on site often enough.
It's not only high-rise apartment owners who are facing challenges. There are plenty of hurdles for people in home building too.
Go. Jasper.
Things can go wrong when construction has barely begun, leaving owners in limbo.
Sydney, Jasper's turn.
Peter MacArthur and Elizabeth Hearn grew up in Newcastle, north of Sydney, and this is where they want to raise their family.
We didn't think it'd be that hard to build a house, and that was our dream.
Despite seeking legal advice before signing contracts, their dream has become a disaster. So if building had gone according to plan, what should we have been looking at here?
We'd be inviting you up the stairs for a cup of coffee inside, actually.
Yeah. So the house should have been finished
Absolutely,
by now?
yes, absolutely.
What happened is complicated. First, a company owned by their builder, Dennis Martin, went into external administration and its licence was cancelled. That meant Dennis Martin's licence was also cancelled. Then so was the licence of the company building their home, which Dennis Martin was a director of. And how many days' work do you estimate he's done?
On calendar days it says 16, but we estimate probably 10 working days they were on site.
They say they've paid their builder $99,000, but haven't yet been able to make a claim through their builder's warranty insurance.
So insurance hasn't been triggered because he hasn't died, he hasn't disappeared, and he hasn't become insolvent. So that leaves us in limbo.
And the dividing frames inside the house.
In an effort to access their insurance, Peter and Elizabeth are taking their builder to the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal. Mr Martin declined 730's request for an interview but responded to a series of questions. He says he was not aware the licence suspension was pending when he started the job. He offered to help the couple continue the project as owner-builders, but they declined, and says putting the company into liquidation would disadvantage staff and other clients.
We did our due diligence and, we contracts to solicitors, everything looked okay on paper, and so none of it is our doing.
What do you say to people you know who are about to build a house?
Best of luck.
No, good luck, and I hope it goes better for them than it has for us.
Architect Jeff Hanmer believes that until regulations change, owners of both apartments and houses are not adequately protected. Are we going to see more buildings with defects and problems?
For sure. Absolutely for sure. The research we have, which is fairly scant, suggests that between 70 and 97% of multi-unit housing has defects.
You buy the biggest thing of your life, the biggest investment of your life, and you have got zip consumer protection. Nothing. You have to fight.
Back at Frankston, Craig, Kerry and Ryan just want to make their buildings safe and move on.
They're not all bad. I've worked with lots and lots of good tradesmen, good builders, and they shouldn't be tarred with the same brush, but they need to weed out. The regulator just needs to get better and get rid of the rubbish out of the industry.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.